These are my favorite books out of all of the books that I own. And because it is my birthday month, we are going to go through them all. I tried to stop at 10, but it didn't work. Let's get ready to count them down. Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. I am Alika, and this is my stack of books that are my absolute favorites out of all of the books that I own. So, last count, I owned 419 books. I think that's right. Between my library on this wall, and then I have a bar library that I made on the other wall in my room. There's a lot of books. But out of that 400, I have picked, I think it was 16. I don't even remember, because the plan was 10. I'm not gonna lie, the plan was 10. But as I was pulling books, I was like, oh, well, I can't leave out this book. I can't leave out this book. And I'm sure I still left out some books that I love. But these are like my undisputed favorite books that I own. Now, these are not in any particular order. So we're going to go through all the books, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about them. But buckle up for this ride, because it's going to be a while, because y'all see the stack? Like, it's a bunch going on here. So without further ado, Beast by Sky Moon is an urban fairy tale retelling of Beauty and the Beast, and I absolutely love it. I've read this book at least 4 times, hands down. I love it real bad. And I think it's my favorite Sky Moon book. It's real close with Compulsive, but this was my first book by Sky Moon, and I absolutely still love it to this day. This is one that I read to get myself out of reading slumps, because it's going to hit every time. Next up, we have A Worthy Love by A.E. Valdez. First of all, can we get into the cover of this book? Like, do y'all see how gorgeous this is? And this book follows Marissa and Asher, and they get married in Vegas in a prior book, because this is book 4 in a series. They get married in Vegas, but he ends up, like, for real liking her. She is like, sir, please get away from me. Please leave me alone. Just watching their dynamic and watching Marissa go through everything she goes through. I love this book. I need to reread it. I haven't read it in, 2 years? But I need to reread it, because I love them bad. But I also need to read the series, and I need to read the series in the correct reading order. Following that, we have And Then Life Was Beautiful. I talked about this book in my video on my most annotated books, because as you can see, this book is tabbed up to pieces. I am an Asia Monique stan. I love her down. This is probably my favorite Asia Monique book, and it's such a sweet love story. We got babies everywhere. It's just a really, really good book. If you want more on this book, you can go to my video on my most annotated books, because I talk a lot more about it there. Next, we have Restore Me by J.L. Seegers. This was my first J.L. Seegers book. I own this book in 4 copies. Let's see. The blue one, this one, the tan one. Yeah, 4 copies of this book. I love it down. Because imagine you have been pining for this girl forever, but she marries your best friend because she doesn't know that you like her. Like, ugh. Get into it. Now, this book is going to pull at your heartstrings. It is emotional. It's heavy. It's written beautifully. I love this book, something serious. Now, this next book, it took me forever to read it. This is one that I read this year. I loved it down. It made me cry. It made me emotional. I talked more about it in my video on my favorite sports romances, because this is book 2 in a series. I absolutely love the story. We get to see Billy and Kobe fight for their love, and I mean fight, because baby, they was going through some things. He had done moved, she had done moved. Ugh, it's such a beautiful story, and y'all know I'm a dangerous girly real bad. Every time I think about this book, I think about the Selena song, but this is A Marriage of Convenience. All she really wanted was a family. Baby, KB took me through it with this book, but again, it's a beautiful love story. All she wanted was a family. He thought he just wanted his dad's company. Turns out he really needed her and loved her bad. As you can see, I didn't annotate it for real because I got so caught up. And this is one that I know that I switched between my Kindle and, well, my Amazon Fire tablet and the physical. But I loved this book. I called KB crying, like, why would you write it like this? Such a beautiful story. The Remnants Love Left Behind is probably my favorite book ever. And I really just love the way that Aubrey wrote it, the way that she wrote about the Black woman and the be strong trope. Not even really a trope, but she wrote about how this Black woman was just really struggling and like dying inside, and everybody's telling her, oh, you're doing so good, you're holding it together. Meanwhile, she's falling apart. But in this book, we get to see Cammy love on herself. We get to see Jameis love on her, build her back up into her being her, becoming her own. I love this book real bad. Real bad. I tell people this book is an ode to my college years. The author is Tannen Tales, and she and I went to college together. And there are like things that you wouldn't pick up on unless you went to school with us in this book. And it just makes me reminisce on my time that went through. And I just love everything about it. It's a college kid, so it's a new adult. She is the player in this book, and the twists and turns that this lady takes us on in this book, top tier chef's kiss. Like, it's a ride from beginning to end. And she's a thickie, so there's that. But I highly suggest y'all get into this book because I love it. I just love it down. Now, Parachute is a book that I read when I first started reading indie Black authors. And it just touched my heart in ways that I never expected. We have the female main character who has lupus, and it's just, she has decided that she doesn't really feel like she believes that she deserves to be loved because she's got this disease, and it's like really weighing on her. But then she falls in love with a doctor, and it's I need to reread this one too, but I absolutely loved Parachutes Down. It was such a good book. And Harley Rae's writing style, I can't wait to see what else she comes out with. Now, this book, let me tell you how I had to fight to get this book. Like, I have wanted Lemon Pepper on my shelf since I read it. This is by far my favorite Nina book. I know everybody else likes The Porters. This is where my heart is with Nina. I love this book. It handles grief really well. It handles developmental delays really well. She wrote her ass off with this book, and I absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Now, this is another one that touched and tore up my soul because we deal with two addicts in this book, and one of them watched her twin sister get murdered, and ever since then, she just has not been the same. And it's just watching her grieve, well, watching both of them grieve, really, because the male main character loses his wife and is left with daughters, and his mom is trying to help, but she's like, hey, bro, you gotta get yourself together. She was like, I can't do this for you. It's just, I don't want to spoil the book, but this was definitely one of my top reads of 2024, and this book sits on my heart and probably will sit on my heart forever and moving forward. Uh-oh, the stack finna fall, Lord. This is another book that I read when I first got into indies, but it is a Christina C. Jones book, and this is a Christina C. Jones stan account. I cannot wait to meet her in June because I definitely want her to sign this copy of Behind the Scenes that I have. This book has the cutest meet-up ever. This turns into a workplace romance from a one-night stand, and baby, when I say, Pierre, that man, love him bad. Love him bad. And Logan wanted to stand on her own, and I love that for her. But also, like, sis, like, let that man love on you. Please let that man love on you. But yeah, Behind the Scenes, it's also a really good place to start in her catalog because her catalog is kind of extensive, but I always suggest starting with Behind the Scenes, and I absolutely love this book. Now, Loyal by Default is the culmination of 24/3 by Casey Mills, and I don't think I've ever read a more perfect ending to a story than this book. When I say, first of all, 24/3 had me down bad. Like, I was distraught from October until when this book came out. This book came out in, like, let's see. I think it came out in, like, April. March or April. Let's see. No, it doesn't say. It just says 2024. Whatever. I loved this book. This is Carta and McKenna. It's literally the perfect ending. Like, you get all of your questions answered. They get their love story. It's beautiful. And it's probably, to date, my favorite Casey Mills book. It's very close to Shadows and Whispers, but this one's definitely my favorite. And just because of the way that it brought 24 and 3 to the perfect close. Now, this is another book that I read in 2024, and it should have been in my top of the year, but it wasn't. But Church Girl, oh my God. This was my first Nina Simone book. And baby, let me explain something to you. As a former church girl myself, this book was perfect. She captured what it's like to grow up in church and be sheltered from the world and then have to just be thrust into it in one of the best ways I've ever seen written in a fiction book. Love this book down. Like, I don't know what else to say about it because I love it that much. And that's like the beginning, Lord, my words, because that's how much I love this book. If you haven't read it, I definitely suggest you should. And last, but certainly not least, I'm lying because there are 2 books in my lap. Broken Clocks by Danielle Allen is an amazing story of love, and it's just love in a way that we don't typically look at it. And it's also about honoring the time that you have on this earth because we are not promised forever. This book is so good. It's going to make you cry, though. If not full-on sobbing, it's going to bring a tear to your eye. So please check the trigger warnings with this book before you read it. But it's such a beautifully written story. I definitely wanted to binge Danielle's catalog after I read it. And I'm super excited to meet her at 4B in March. And yeah, love this book. And last, but certainly not least, King's Surrender by Aisha Brie. Now, this is a book, I think I will always say this and always tell this story. I was not interested in reading this book when Aisha first started because the book after this was the one that I really wanted to get to. But baby, when I say Aisha did her biggest one with this book, I loved Zara. I loved her story. I loved her coming into her own. I loved everything about this book. And I mean, Kane wasn't bad either. I love that man down bad. I love him something serious. But yeah, definitely love this book down. This was my favorite in the series. Out of all 5 books, this one was my favorite because we got a little bit of spice. We got a little bit of some dramatic elements, and we got a really good love story. And we got to see her step up as a mom, like as a mom figure, but not overstep. And we got to see his baby mama and her like have a really good relationship. There was no drama. It was some real grown folk stuff. So yeah, love this book down. Now, I said I own about 419 books, and I love all of them, but those are the ones that I love more than anything. Like, those are the ones that have altered my brain chemistry in some way. Those are the ones that, like, I would probably recommend to people, like, off rip. Now, there is another book. Well, actually, there are a couple more books that should have been in this video that I love. When I say with my whole heart, I mean my whole heart. But I didn't want it to be, like, 1 or 2 author heavy, like, heavy on those authors. Just because, like, there are other books that I have that I love. But there are some honorable mentions. And by honorable mentions, I mean I love them, like, real bad. But I just didn't want it to be, like, a super long video. So, yeah.